Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gavin Watson, Monday.com lead for marketing, retail, creative, and advertising, and I'm joined by Marcus Radish from PageProof, co-founder and CTO of PageProof.com. We're thrilled to bring you the first in our webinar, the Marketing and Creative Workflow Powerhouse series. With this session, we'll be focused on product and packaging design. So today we're going to focus on a couple of different things. We're going to take you through a workflow from very beginning of the brief right through to the final output, having the assets created and then residing them either in your DAM or in the location to send them out to production, be it getting the packaging files completed or send it out to your social channels, and really looking at what that flow could look like from a product or a retail perspective. So the starting point is usually around the brief. And within the briefing process, we want to capture the correct information and all the relevant information related to the final assets that we want to receive. So the focus of today, we want to brief in everything related to a Monday drink bottle. So the product that we are going to create and put to market within our retail channel and also on our social channels to advertise it, and also sell it on our e-commerce channel is the drink bottle. The priority is obviously very high. We want to get this out to market because the data that we've received back shows us that there's definitely a gap or a need in the market for a drink bottle. The date that we want to get that live in market is the 8th of September. So we'll enter the date there, and then all of the tasks and everything related to that will roll up to that as our go live date. The asset types that we're looking for is an EDM, packaging, social, video, and web. We can also include a brief, so that brief can be free-flowing, so free-flowing written brief that can be attached as a reference file, which could be made up of a number of different, items of inspiration. It could be specifications or the like. And we also want to capture information around the target audience. So this is really relevant for when we come to reporting at the back end of the process, being able to analyze and see, who are the audiences that we were targeting with the particular bits of content that we were creating, and then how that's extrapolated and shown us in terms of the content we've created. And once we put it into the market, what do the results look like? In terms of assets, this is where, again, you can attach reference files. There may be inspiration, there may be dimensions, there may be specifications that you need to attach. And the final thing that we can do here in the briefing process is we can actually select whether or not we want the final assets that are created to be ready to send to a digital asset management system. If you have one, Monday also has the ability to create a board structure, which allows you to store assets and then share those assets. Or it may just be a final part in the process where you want to notify the teams that need to pick those assets up and put them into another repository. So from here, we'll complete the brief by simply submitting it. What that'll do then is that'll send a notification through to the relevant team that needs to work on those tasks. So what you can see here is that that brief that was completed has now come through and set up all of these different tasks within the Monday board. So from here, I can see I've got the packaging task, a video task, EDM task, social task, and a web task, all related to the drink bottle. All of those have a high priority, and all of those are rolling up to a due date of the 8th of September. For me now, I want to understand, as the traffic manager who is responsible for managing all of this work, what's the capacity of my team? So I can go to the workload view. What the workload view is now showing me all of the work that my team is currently working on based on tasks and work that's been assigned to them, the new tasks that have come in, who I can then look to assign those to. So based on the data here, I can see, wow, Marcus is actually pretty free. So what I'll do now is I'll go and assign that to Marcus under the designer column. And what that'll do is that'll start building out those tasks being allocated to Marcus. If Marcus has his Teams or Slack integration working, he will get a notification via Teams or Slack to let him know new tasks have been assigned to him. That can also be sent him via email, or he can also look at his to-do my work list and see those tasks that have been assigned to him. So now what we've done is we've allocated all of those tasks to Marcus. Marcus would have received the notifications. I know that he works heavily in Teams, so he would have received the Teams notification. And from there, Marcus will now pick up these tasks and start working on them. I might hand over to you, Marcus, now as the designer in this tutorial to show exactly what you'd be doing.
Yeah, thanks for that, Gavin. So what we'll do here as the designer, again, I'll receive the notifications in, and then I'd go into the task and I would read through the brief, make sure I get all the information that I need to actually go and accomplish this task in my design tool. So what I would do is open up my design tool, be it InDesign or Illustrator, Photoshop, whatever it is that I'm going to use, and I would create my first piece of artwork. That piece of artwork, I've already been and done that. So here's the example of what that artwork would look like. So this is a file that's created, and it's a flat wrap that shows the artwork going around the side of a bottle. Okay, so with this piece of artwork, I would drag and drop it into the Monday assets column, which you can see here. So to simply take that piece of artwork, drop it into the assets column here, and that would upload it into monday.com. Now, of course, at this point, I'd like people to give me feedback on this. So I can send this out through a proofing process. So very simply, I just open up this, this item, and it takes me to the PageProof view. So we can see we've got an integrated view here with PageProof inside of monday.com. So to send this out, I'd simply click on the Create Proof button here, and then highlight the asset that I would like to send out. And you'll see that that due date is automatically connected across. And then just click on Create Proof, and that takes us to the proof setup screen inside of PageProof. Now, all the information on the left-hand side of the screen is already all set up, so I don't need to do anything there. What I'm going to focus on here is saying, who are we going to send this to? So I simply grab a set of reviewers from this menu and say, I'd like to send this out. And as you can see from this, it's showing that's going to go to the product team first. They're going to make some decisions on it, and then it's going to go to our final approver. And with these workflows, by the way, you can add further steps and different conditions and things to move this work through your organization in the right order, gathering feedback. Now, down the bottom here, you'll see that there's a checklist option, because I'd like to attach a checklist to this piece of artwork as well. So I simply say Add Checklist, choose the appropriate checklist from this set of templates that we've got. And then we can see, to finally approve this, I need to have all the checklist items done, and it's going to open on Proofload, and I can see what this checklist is going to look like. So it's going to get me to check each one of these parts of the proof and check them off to say that I've actually gone through and looked at those parts of the proof.
Fantastic, Marcus. And obviously, once that proof's been created, I will receive a notification if I'm involved in that proofing process. And from there, I can just go straight in and start annotating and marking up that particular proof.
Absolutely. And you'll see now I've just gone back into monday.com, and you can see that we've had the information updated into Monday from PageProof. So by sending that proof out, it's now come back and said, okay, this proof is now in proofing, and it's updated the item, so we can see all the detail in here, and it's currently sitting with the product team. So we even get which team it's sitting in that's going to be leaving feedback on that. Now, this proof link you can see is a hyperlink directly to the proof. So anyone who's looking at this inside of monday.com thinks, oh, I'd like to actually have a look at that proof. They simply click on this link here, and it opens up the proofing screen and takes us to where the piece of artwork is. So here we can see now we've opened up the artwork inside of PageProof.
Yeah, fantastic. I've received the file back from Marcus, and I've noticed obviously there's a checklist on the file. For now, though, my immediate attention's been drawn to an error on the file. If I zoom in and look at the bottom row, I've noticed that two of the squares that are meant to be red based on my initial brief are actually yellow. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to annotate directly onto the file the two squares that I need to have changed to red. I'm going to input my feedback, which is going to go directly back to the designer to make these amends. And if I wanted to attach a reference file, I could, which was my initial reference file potentially. But in this case, all I want to do is mark up and make the change. While I'm here, I also want to check the color separation of the file, because for us as an organization, once we send this to print, if there are errors in the different color layers, there's huge reworking costs. So I actually want to come in now and check the different color layers. So as I go through those individually, I can see, yep, that looks fine. That's looking fine. At the same time, I also have the ability to check the actual dimensions of this file. So I can come and use a ruler or a grid tool and actually check all of the different dimensions of the file, such as the logo. If I wanted to make sure the logo was at the correct size, was correctly positioned, centered to the artwork here, I've got all these wonderful tools and features that I can come and use and actually make those checks and balances to either give feedback, to ask for adjustments, or to ensure that the file is correctly set up for how we're going to need it to be able to then go to print later down the track. So what I'll do now is I'll come in, I'll go through, I'll send back my feedback, and this feedback will now go back to Marcus.
Okay, great. So inside of Monday.com, you can see now that that item is showing us to-dos requested. So this is now telling us that the designer is going to receive a notification to say, hey, there are changes that need to be made. Now, a designer at this point will see that and go into their design tool where they originally created this piece of artwork, and using a plugin that is part of PageProof, they can actually bring the changes directly into the artwork. So you can see here, it's showing me that we have that Monday bottle. If we click onto it, it brings back in those changes. We can see it. And if I highlight this comment, it's showing me exactly where those changes need to be made. So what I can do now is go through, make those changes, and then I can upload a new version. So now I've made those changes, and I have gone through and I've checked off the item here to say, yes, I've carried out that piece of work. There's a button right here in the interface of this plugin that says, hey, let's upload a new version directly from here. So I can simply click onto here, put in that we're doing version 2 of this piece of artwork, and then simply click OK to upload it into PageProof to send out for the second set of changes that we would like to get feedback on. So now we can see back inside of Monday, we can see that the is back inside of proofing. So it's now sent out the second version, which we did directly from inside of the design tool, and it's updated the information inside of Monday. So we now know that this has gone through into its second step. And to look at that artwork for version 2, simply click, and that takes us to the second version of the artwork.
Thanks, Marcus. So I've received back the second version of the file. Obviously, I've got the checklist there, but what I actually want to do now is check the first version to the second version. So I can simply bring up the Smart Compare. And I can actually see, yes, the differences are there in the file from the first version with the 2 yellow squares to the second version with the 2 red squares. I can also use a Smart Compare feature, which layers those files directly over the top of each other. And again, I can see, yes, those changes have been made. Fantastic. I'm happy with the results. I now want to approve this file and push it through into the workflow. I also need to tick off the checklist because it will not let me push this forward until I've actually completed everything on the checklist.
So coming back into Monday.com, you can see that that piece of artwork, which was sitting, that artwork packaging that we were doing, was sitting inside of in progress while I was doing that work and sending it back and forward with Gavin. And now that it's been approved by Gavin, it's pushed in and sitting inside of file in DAM. So there was an automation built into Monday.com that has recognized that that had a flag set, which was store in DAM. So when this becomes the status changes, the proof status changes to approved, it puts that item into this file in DAM. So now that the person in charge of our digital asset management system can come in here, you'll see that the proof link is still there. Now, the great thing with that is that this is where your digital librarian can come in, click on that link, download that file it into the digital asset management system, and then they can move it from file and DAM into completed, and that completes our task for that particular one of the items that we need to do for this drink bottle.
Well, that's a wrap, and thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again in our webinar series, the Marketing Creative Workflow Powerhouse series.